Jana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girdharadhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girdharadhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radha Jaya Radha Giridhari Radha Giridhari Radha Jaya Jagannath Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra Jaya Gauranita Jaya Gauranita Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Gurudev Jaya Jaya Gurudev. Hare Krishna. I hope you can hear me clearly this time.
Yes, Prabhu, we can.
Okay, so we'll start this class. So we'll start with the invocation prayers. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatho jnanam udiryate nashta prayeshu bhradreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavate uttame shloke bhaktir bhavati neshtiki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we will be discussing on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 13, Shloka 1. We just finished with the 12th chapter, and today starts the 13th chapter. And the title of the chapter is The Descendant of Dhruva Maharaj. So the shloka goes like this. I'll try to say it once. I have tried a little bit of separating the words because the first word is very, very big. So I'm just try to do once, then we can go with the forum. So Sutta Uvacha Nishmaya Kau Sarvino Parva Nitam Dhruvasya Vaikunta Pado Dinohanam Parudha Bhavo Bhagvat Adhokshaje Purustam Punastam Vidhur Prakarchane Prakarcharkarme. Would someone like to try this? For me, it's quite difficult.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot Pranam.
Dandot Pranam Prabhuji, please try.
Shruta Uvacha Nishamma kosha arabino upavarnitam dhruvasya vaikunta pada adirohanam prarutta bhavo bhavati adakshaje prastum punastam vidura prachakrame. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Anyone else would like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Mataji, please go ahead.
Nisham Shuto Vacha Nishamya Koshadabinopavarnitam Dhruvasya Vaikuntha Padadirohanam Prarudha Bhava Bhagavatya Dokshaje Prashtum Punastam Viduraha Prachakrame. Hare Krishna.
So nicely, Mataji. Thank you so much. Sita would like to try?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Ranvat Pranam. Nishamya Kaushara Vinoparvanirnitam Dhruvasya Vaikuntha Padadhirohanam Prarudha Bhavo Bhagavatya Dhokshaje Prastum Punastam Vidura Prachakrame.
Thank you. Thank you, Sita.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can I try?
Please, Prabhuji. Okay.
Hare Krishna. Shuto vacho nishamma kausharo vinopo varunitam dhruvasya vaikunta padadirohanam prarura bhavo bhagavati adakshaje prashtum punascha vidura prachakrame.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So,
I'll try again.
Yes, Prabhuji, please go ahead.
Sutavacha nasamiyekau aravindo pavanita nitam dhruvasya vaikunta pada dhirohanam radhura bhavo bhagavati adokshaje prastim punastam vidura prachakame. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So there we go by synonym by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So the synonym is Sutta Uvacha, which is Sutta Goswami said, Nismaya, after hearing, Karu Sarvani, by the sage Maitre, Upavarnitam, described, Dhruvasya, of Maharaj Dhruva, Vaikunta Pada, to the abode of Vishnu, Adhirohanam, ascent, Prahuda, increase, Bhava, devotional emotion, Bhagavati, onto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Adhokshaje, who is beyond the reach of direct perception. Parustum, to inquire, Punaha, again, Tam, onto Maitre, Vidura, Vidur, Prakar Chakrame, attempted. So the translation, would I like to try the read translation?
Hare Krishna
No,
Prabhu.
okay.
Okay. Yes, Prabhu, carry on.
So, translation message Prabhupada. Sutta Goswami continued to speak to all the rishis headed by Sanaka. Sutta Goswami continued to speak to all the rishis headed by Sanak said, after hearing Maitreya Rishi describe Dhruva Maharaj's ascent to the Lord Vishnu's abode, Vidura became very much enlightened in devotional emotion, and he inquired from Maitreya Muni as follows. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Puri Mataji would like to try a purport?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandot
yes.
Pranam.
Please,
Purport
Krishna Prabhuji.
Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. As evidence in the topics between Vidura and Maitra, the activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and the devotees are so fascinating that neither the devotee who is describing them nor the devotee who is hearing is all fatigued by the inquiries and answers. Transcendental subject matter is so nice that no one becomes tired of hearing or speaking. Others who are not devotees may think, how can people devotee so much time simply to talk of God? But devotees are never satisfied or satiated in hearing and speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about his devotees. The more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. The chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra is simply the repetition of three words, Hare, Krishna and Rama. But still, devotees can go on chanting this Hare Krishna Mahamantra 24 hours a day without feeling fatigue. Hare Krishna. Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Om Jnana Tirmendhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshar Ulmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yukta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamischa Shri Rupam Sangrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tvam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Dalita Shri Vishakha Vitan Mishcha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchan Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, we will be reading on Srimad Bhagavatam 4.13.1, and the shloka goes like Sutta Uvacha, Nismaya Kau Sarvino Parvanitam Durvasya Vaikuntha Padadinohanam Paruda Bhavo Bhagavate Adhokshaje Parushtam Punastam Vidura Prakarkrame. So far, what we have heard is from the previous chapter was the Dhruv Katha has been happening for quite some time. So far, what we have heard was that Dhruv Maharaj wanted to sit in his father's lap, and eventually he was told not to. And her mother gave her instruction, which she heard from her mother, that from Suniti, that he did perform the austerities, and which is by going to in a jungle. And so the result was he went in jungle and started doing the tapasya. But on the way, he met Narad Muni, and the instruction was given by Narad Muni, and he heard the instruction from Narad Muni how to achieve God, which he did, and the result was he achieved God. He met God face to face. So as this past time went through, we heard that how his brother was killed by the yakshas, and eventually her stepmom also passed away, and then he, due to his anger, start killing all the yakshas. Then Swambhu Manu came, and again he heard from Swambhu Manu that he was a devotee, when he was young. So he should again stop the war and start doing the devotional service again, which he did. And eventually he ruled the kingdom for quite some time. And then at the end, he was greeted by Nanda Sunanda. And when they spoke, he again heard from them that, they came from Vaikuntha Loka and they are here to take him. And this is how he went. So we can see from the last, when the chapter 12 finished, for last 12, around 8 to 9 shlokas, it says what happens, the glorification of Dhruva Maharaj Katha, what happens when you hear this Katha of Dhruva Maharaj. So it is said very nicely in the last, it's like a Gita, and it's like a Dhruva Maharaj Katha Mahatmyam in the last 8 shlokas which we heard from last 8 days. What's happening? That if you hear this shloka, what happens? If you hear that shloka, what happens? That what gati one will get when they leave the body, and how these people who hear the Dhruv Katha will go to heavenly abode, and also the demigods are very pleased. And all of our sins are destroyed, and demigod shower mercy. There's a lot of things that we heard in last 8 shlokas. And even not only that, even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to love this pastime very, and he used to hear quite a lot of this pastime of Dhruva Maharaj. So hence this particular pastime of Dhruva Maharaj very, very dear to God himself. Not only that, but if you look at Srimad Bhagavatam, if we hear any shloka from any chapter, from any canto, there's definitely lots of learning in there. So especially in Srimad Bhagavatam, it's like it's like an encyclopedia. So open any shloka, there's always a learning. If we hear it nicely, there's always a learning. So in this, this chapter titles says descendant of Dhruva Maharaj, and chapter 14 we will hear about Vena Maharaj. In chapter 15, we will hear about Maharaj Prithu. But however, we are concentrating on this shloka. I said so much today, just to give the introduction before. Was there any repeated thing which I have said? Anyone would like to guess what the repeated thing which I said? Anyone? I said quite a, if you have heard this, if you heard that, if you hear this, Dhruva Maharaj heard that. Any repeated words which I am trying to say? Which is the repeated word?
Hearing.
Yes, hearing. Shravanam is very, very important. So if you look at the translation, just the purport part of it, as an evident in the topic between the Vidura and Maitreya, the activities of Supreme Personality of Godhead and the devotees are so fascinating that neither devotees who is describing them nor the devotees who is hearing is at all fatigued by the inquiry and the answers. The transcendental subject matter is so nice that no one becomes tired of hearing and speaking. Others who are non-devotees may think, how can people devote so much time simply to talk about God? But devotees are never satisfied or satiated by hearing and speaking about the Supreme Personality of Godhead or about his devotees. The more they hear and talk, the more they become enthusiastic to hear. The chanting of Hare Krishna mantra is simply the repetition of 3 words, Hare Krishna and Rama. But still, devotee can go on chanting the Hare Krishna mantra 24/7, 24 hours a day without feeling any fatigue. So if you see, within the small 10-liners, Prabhupada has used the word hearing around more than 5 times. So this subject matter of Krishna and hearing that Krishna, the subject matter, which is Krishna's name, quality, form, and pastime, is very, very important. So we're going to concentrate on the word hearing, Shravanam. But before doing that, it's very, very important for us to know in any shloka, any shloka that we listen in Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very, very important. 3 things that we need to make sure that we understand it very, very clearly. Otherwise, Srimad Bhagavatam is like a vast ocean. It's like an encyclopedia of shlokas, encyclopedia of stories. There's so many things going on here and there. So before we understand Srimad Bhagavatam, try to understand any shloka of Srimad Bhagavatam, we need to understand that first is who is speaking. Always that's very, very important. The second thing is to whom it's spoken to.
Yeah,
And the third thing is what is being spoken. So there are the 3 things that we need to understand. In this instance, we can see that we got the name like Sutta Goswami is saying to the rishis, then Maitreya is saying to Vidura, and quite a few things happening. So there's a story inside the story. So in this instance, we can see Sutta Goswami is speaking to rishis. What he has heard, actually, the story is happening between Maitreya and Vidur, which is Sutta Goswami is speaking to all the rishi in Naimisharanya. So we'll start with our first topic, which is Shravanam. What does Shravanam means?
hearing.
Hearing. Shravanam means hearing. So it's very, very important when it comes to the hearing part, because the whole process of our devotion will start from Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. You know, to start from Shravanam is very, very important. So I have break down this Shravanam into 3 categories. First is what to hear. You know, we'll describe this in more detail in the next slide. So the first thing is what to hear. And the second topic is why to hear and how to hear. So hearing has got 3 subcategories. However, it's I was listening to one of the lecture and it says very nicely that hearing has got there are 3 stages of hearing, which is Shravanam, which is the starting point, which is the hearing process. The second is Mananam, which is contemplating on what we have heard, the information. And the third thing is Nididhyasanam, which is applying in day-to-day life. So any information which you hear should be break down into these 3 parts. So what happens is when we hear something, it only reaches our only our ears. It doesn't go any further. But when we do Mananam, which is contemplating on that information which we have received, what happens is it goes to our head. And what happens? It becomes Gyan there. And Nididhyasanam is applying into day-to-day life. When we do that, it goes into our heart. And then it becomes Vijnana. So that's the process of Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. And if I'll take an example like, you know, in day-to-day life that we have heard so many times that, you know, we have to wake up early in the morning, do our sadhana in the morning. So that is just the information, Shravanam. We are just hearing. We have heard from this lecture. We have heard Prabhuji saying in the lecture. We have heard from other sannyasis. You know, we have to wake up early in the morning, and especially hour and a half. So two and a half hours before the sunrise, which is in a Brahma Muhurat, like 4 o'clock. We should wake up. This is all information. We have all got this information. But Mananam is we should start contemplating on it. So if I have to wake up tomorrow morning at 4:30 in the morning or 4 o'clock in the morning, what should I do? So this is planning, you know. So we start planning, you know, I will do this. I'll make sure my office bags is clear. My tiffin is ready. So I don't need to waste time in the morning because I have to wake up in the morning, do my sadhana, I have to do my sits and downs. So that is contemplating on the information that we have received. The information was we have to chant early in the morning. Mananam is that we are planning. If we have to wake up, what should I do a day before? And Nididhyasanam is what? The next day, when the alarm goes off, we turn it off, take a shower, and start doing a chanting. That's early in the morning, and that is Nididhyasanam, applying in day-to-day life. So Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. This is 3 stages of hearing. And then we also gonna talk about how the listener never feels fatigue. But before going that, I would like to bring a point here that about Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam is that there are so much information that we hear from day to day from this Prabhu, that Prabhu, lectures and this and that. But most of the information never get registered, and the information dies because it's not getting inside. We don't go to the next stage, which is Mananam and Nididhyasanam. So that information dies. So Srila Prabhupada used to say that, you know, it is called as like a hog consciousness. Have you seen hog, pig? They've got a very big ears, but they never listen. They don't understand the philosophy. They don't. It's like an animal consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada says that, you know, one should not be like a hog. Hog is having a big ears, but actually it cannot understand the philosophy. So hearing like a hog means being an animal consciousness or staying in an animal consciousness. It's called as hog consciousness. And then we're going to discuss about listening never get fatigues, and we will discuss on while hearing they get no tiredness, no fatigue, and they are never satisfied. Why they are never satisfied? Why they are never satisfied? So we're going to discuss on these 2 topics, which is Shravanam, hearing, and listening never feels fatigues from this shloka. So the first topic is hearing. So the first thing is obviously we have already highlighted on what to hear. Anyone can tell what we can hear? We can read from the purport. The purport, Srila Prabhupada said very nicely, what can we hear? Anyone like to say? What What can we hear?
The reference comes to Prabhuji, Shivatam Shakata Krishna Punna Savana Kirtanam. So that's always speak about the Lord's glory, Lord's pastime, Lord's
Yes.
activities.
You're
So
spot on, Prabhuji. Spot on. We always need to hear Krishna Katha. But if you look at the fact, there are so many kathas happening. If you're in India, and if you open the Astha channel or some channel, there's so many kathas going on. There are so many Babajis who's giving the katha. So many professional speakers now, motivational speakers are giving references from Bhagavad Gita. And there are so many gurus doing Bhagavad Saptas and massive pandals and, earning money. They have made this as a business. So who to hear? Which Krishna Katha should we hear?
Only Krishna Katha.
But they're also speaking the Krishna Katha. So how should we know which Katha to hear?
From a devotee, Prabhuji. From a devotee only.
Perfect. So it should be here from the bona fide speaker, from the four sampradayas only. There are four sampradayas which is meant for the Kali Yuga. So we should only hear from them. And the reference is given in Padma Puran 1.5 that, they are the four sampradayas. And in these four sampradayas, message will be pretty much same. Krishna is Supreme Personality of Godhead and we do serve Krishna. So there are many references in Padma Puran, but specifically 1.5 clearly mentions, that we should be hearing from these four sampradayas, and they are the bona fide sampradayas. So where we can find these bona fide kathas? Where can we find bona fide kathas? We find in BBC, right? BBC? It's not the BBC channel. It's Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, in Chaitanya Charitamrita. So they are the I can say nectar of Krishna Katha. So if we hear from BBC, we read from here, we will be basically trying to associate with Krishna. So Krishna is non-different from Bhagavatam. And again, we're gonna quickly go on. Why to hear? Why to hear?
Purify.
To purify ourselves? Yes, right. We're gonna quickly go on the shloka. Can anyone like to read the translation? Sorry, the shloka and the translation.
Shivatam Shakata Krishna Purna Sravana Kirtana Hridayantasto Vadrani Vidunati Shurichatam. Translation. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, super soul, in everyone's heart and the benefactor of all truthful devotees, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. So it's very clearly says, when we hear, what happens? So listening to the katha, it says very clearly that it cleanses the desire of material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee. So whatever the material attachment that we have, if you try to listen to katha, it says very, it nicely says, we have developed the urge to hear. When we have got the urge, I want to hear today. And when you've got that urge to hear, what happens? The desire, the material desire from the heart get cleansed away. So how we can develop that urge to hear? How can we develop that urge? Because if you can see here, it says the personality of Godhead, who is a Paramatma in everyone's heart, is a benefactor of all the truthful devotees. Cleanse the desire of material enjoyment from the heart of devotees, who has developed the urge to hear his message, which are themselves virtuous, then properly heard and chanted. So this urge, or we can say ruchi, how to develop this ruchi? By serving the Vaishnavas.
Yes.
So if you see that whole process, that this process of ruchi developed by serving the Vaishnavas, And when we serve the Vaishnavas, what happens? The Ruchi develops. When Ruchi develops, what happened? We try to listen to the Katha, Krishna Katha. And when we try to listen to the Krishna Katha, what happens? It cleanses the desire, material desire of enjoyment from the heart. So everything comes in a cycle. So it's if you contemplate on this, what we need to do is we need to hear the Katha in association of devotees. We need to associate with the devotees. So you can see in this shloka how Vidura is getting into the is going into devotional emotion just by hearing, oh, Maitreya Muni said that Dhruva Maharaj is going back to Godhead. Just by hearing that word, is going back to Krishna's abode, that devotional emotions just rose up, and that's why it's very, very important that we need to associate with the devotees. And we can, it's not only that Vidur Maharaj has reached to this devotional emotion stage, we can also reach it, but provided we associate with the devotees, right? So right association is very, very important. Then the second shloka, which we're gonna talk about, is why should we hear? Anyone would like to read the translation and the shloka, please?
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Please go ahead.
Srivatam pradayana nittam grinatascha chestitam kalena nodirgena Bhagavan Vishate Dhriti. Translation: persons who hear Srimad Bhagavatam regularly and are always taking the matter very seriously will have the personality of Godhead Sri Krishna manifested in their hearts within a very short time.
Yes, so his two words are very, very important here. The first one is regularly, and the second thing is seriously. So before Srimad Bhagavatam, he says, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, and it's always says, it has to be always Nityam, Sada, Kirtaniya Sada Hari. So it has to be always constant. It's not that we have heard the lecture once, we have heard this only once and not doing anything after this. It has to be constant. So this is how we have to listen. It has to be Nityam, regularly, and very seriously. So when we say Nityam, Nityam, it means it has to be constant, again, with the devotees. So what happens when we do Nityam Bhagavat Seva, when we always listen to the Katha, and very seriously, what happens? Krishna says, Krishna manifests in their hearts within a short time period. Just like how Dhruva Maharaj was doing tapasya in the when he was a kid. He was doing tapasya in the forest, but he was very serious. What he have heard from Narad Muni, he was concentrating on that. He was following the instruction of his guru. And what happened? Krishna appeared in front of him. So in a very short period of time, Krishna can manifest in their heart within a short period of time. So I was listening to one of the lectures where Srila Prabhupada asked his disciples, what is important in devotional service? So there were many devotees and they were saying, oh, chanting 16 rounds early in the morning. Someone said following the regulative principles in the morning, following the regulative principle, following the Ekadashi. There were many answers. But Srila Prabhupada said, no, one has to be very sincere and serious. If you follow these two things, other thing automatically comes in the umbrella. You don't need to do anything separately, but you have to be very, very sincere and serious. Another example is you can take is Mother Rukmani. All he heard was sincerely heard it from Narad Muni, about Krishna's past, name, quality, form, pastimes, and how she got attracted towards Krishna. It reached to that stage that she has decided that if I don't get Krishna, I will commit suicide. She reached to that stage. That is called properly hearing, contemplating on the matter, information that has been given to her. And listening, other example of other on listening is Daksh Prajapati. He has got 10,000 sons, then again 1,000 kids. And what they did, they hear the lecture from Narad Muni. And what happened? they became devotees. It's again, they were listening very, very attentively, very seriously and regularly. So if we hear the katha seriously and regularly, what will happen? Krishna will manifest in a heart in a very short period of time. And again, it says in the previous shloka, when Krishna appears in the heart, what happens? It cleanses all material desires. So if Krishna has to come inside a heart, all the material desire has to go. Heart can only accommodate only one thing, either material thing or spiritual thing. It cannot hold both of them. So if you're allowing Krishna to come in your heart, then material thing has to go. It's like a, it's come in a package. If this comes, this has to go. If this comes, this has to go. And so we have just heard about why should we hear. It is for our spiritual progress. Okay. Now we're going to hear is how to hear. So we are just contemplating on the word hearing. So first, what we have heard is what to hear, which we obviously discovered that we have to follow listen to the katha from the 4 sampradayas, and they are in BBC, which is Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, and Chaitanya Charitamrita. Then we have heard why should we hear? It's just because it get our heart clean, and when we cleanse our heart, what will happen? The material desire get vanquished, all get disappeared. Now the third thing is how to hear. And we go on Srimad Bhagavatam 3:25-25. Anyone would like to read the purport and shloka and the translation, please?
Sure, Prabhuji. Can I try?
Yes, please, Mataji, go ahead.
Satam prasangan mama virya samvido bhavanti hritkarna rasayana katha tajoshanada swapavarga vartmani shraddha ratir bhaktir anukramishati. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed, and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begins.
Thank you. So we can see in the shloka 3 points very, very important. First thing is in the association, how should we hear? In the association of pure devotees. And what we need to do? Discussion of the pastime and activities of Lord Sri Hari, Krishna. So if you follow this, what will happen? The last line, Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti will come in line, will follow you. So what is Shraddha is faith, Rati is attraction, and Bhakti is devotion service. They will follow in order when you listen Krishna Katha from pure devotees. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada says, that simply by theoretical knowledge or the study, we cannot make advancement, but we need to avoid the association of mundane people as well. It's in Nectar of Instruction, Rupa Goswami says the same thing about when it's a second shloka where it says, the 9 processes, the 6 processes from which the bhakti get destroyed. But this is association of mundane people. We need to avoid them. But in this shloka, it's very nicely said we need to associate it with pure devotees. And we need to discuss the pastime of Krishna, the activities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And what will happen at the end? Shraddha, Rati, and Bhakti will manifest. They will follow in the line. So we see now we see that nowadays people have got more using cell phone and technologies. You're using nowadays. We have got Bhagavatam at our home, right? Everyone has got Bhagavatam set on our home. But people, what they do, they still read on the gadgets. It is recommended that, Krishna says that I am in Bhagavatam. We need to open the books, not on the online version of computer. We need to hold the books in our hand. That is very, very important. Krishna says, Prabhupada says, I'm in my books, not on my iPhone or laptop or tablet. I'm on my books. We need to hold the books in our hand and then start reading it. That's how the relationship develops. Yeah, obviously you can do it on phone when you're outside, but when you're at home, you need to hold the books in our hand and then read it. Obviously, there was lockdown. We cannot meet the devotees. We cannot take the association of the devotees. But when there's no lockdown, We should take an endeavor. We should try our best to go to the temple and meet other devotees, serve them, and listen from them face to face. Like, definitely in Auckland Temple, there's Bhagavatam class every morning. We should try to take an endeavor to go in the temple and serve the devotees and listen face to face rather than being online. But yes, because of lockdown, we are doing it, which is very, very good. But we should, any endeavor and any opportunity we get, we should go meet face to face the devotees. We should hold Srila Prabhupada's book in our hand and read it from there. And also, most important thing, how to hear is not that you are physically present there and mentally you are elsewhere. So that's very, very important. That's how the 3 stages of hearing comes: Shravanam, Manan, and Nityadasam. That is, when you hear, if you're physically there but you're mentally elsewhere, you're not hearing anything. And that's why you cannot do the second 2 step, which is Mananam and Nityadasam. Why? Because you haven't heard it properly. It's not even registered in your ears yet. However, if you are in the class, if you heard it 100%, if you are still doing the Mananam, you're doing the Nityadhyasanam, if nothing happens till then the last 4th step is Vandanam. We have to pray to Krishna that I'm doing all this thing, still nothing is happening. Please help me. That's the last stage that we have to do Vandanam to Krishna, and then then it's up to him. He knows what the best for us. Then we go on to, just a second. So we have heard so far what to hear, why to hear, and how to hear. Now we're going to see is the second topic, which is listener never get fatigues. And why is that? We go in Srimad Bhagavatam 10, 13, and 12. Can anyone, oops, it's the wrong one. Yep. Can anyone please read the shloka and the translation, please?
Yeah.
Please go ahead, Prabhuji.
Krishna Sadhu Krishna Mahabhaga Aya Bhagavato Yam Yasya Shanvan Apikatam Tatamayan Saran Britam Sargo Yadar Tabani Shruti Chetasamati Pratikshanam Navya Bad Achyutasya Kriya Vithanam Iva Sadhu Vartha.
Translation.
Srila Sukadeva Goswami says, best of devotees, fortunate Parikshit, have inspired very nicely. Although constantly hearing the pastimes of the Lord, the perceiving his activities is never pure and Paramahamsas, devotees who have accepted the essence of life, are attached to Krishna in the core of their heart, of their life. It is their nature to talk only of Krishna at every moment, as if such topics were newer and they are attached to such topics, just as materials are attached to topics. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mataji and Prabhuji. So, the reason why we can hear Krishna Katha non-stop and we never get fatigue is because when we hear it, his activities are like newer and newer. Srila Prabhupada emphasized the word, the topic is like newer and newer. Krishna is Nav Yovanam, right? Nav Yovan means he's always youth. He's always young. And Krishna is non-different from his activities, from his pastimes. So the pastimes is always fresh, transcendental. So you can see Damodar Mantra is on. How many times we have heard Damodar Katha? Definitely more than 100 times. But every time we listen, we get the same amount of joy. We have same kind of relishness. We can enjoy the Katha every now and then. When we do the home programs, we repeat the Katha in the morning, in the evening, and we get the same bliss. It's not ki ek hi baar sun ke thak gaye. It's always fresh, always fresh. That's why this reason why when we hear Krishna Katha, we never get fatigued, we never get bored. because always fresh. And the next shloka is Srimad Bhagavatam, from Brahma Samhita. Anyone like to try the shloka in the translation, please?
Prabhuji, can I try?
Please, please.
Advaitam achyutam anadi anantarupam attam purana purusham napayaupanam cha videshu durlabam atmabhaktav govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
The translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, who is inaccessible to the Vedas, but obtainable by pure, unalloyed devotion of the soul, who is without a second, who is not subject to decay, is without a beginning, whose form is endless, who is the beginning and the eternal Purusha, yet he is a person possessing the beauty of blooming youth.
Thank you so much. So here the word have been used, Nav Yovanam, the second line, the second last word, Nav Yovanam, that is beauty of the blooming youth. This is how Krishna is, and that's what his pastime is. He's always fresh, transcendental. So you can see when I say fresh, say for example, if someone is trying to serve you freshly made paneer and the paneer sabji, and other person is serving the 2 days old frozen paneer and that sabji, you'll find the difference, the difference between the fresh one and the one which has been kept for quite some time. This is just a material example. There's one more example, that material example, like a husband-wife got married. When they are newly wed couple, they're always, taking care about each other. It's a very funny one. Someone was telling me, that this husband-wife who went to a honeymoon, and the husband, the wife got stuck in, her leg got stuck in a small pit hole. The husband was very caring. Oh, kuch laga to nahi? Sorry. Come from this side. After 5 years down the track, they went to the same place, and the wife got again stuck in the pit hole, the leg, and the husband said, "Can't you see and walk?" And after 10 years, they went again, and they were they are pretty old now. And when they went, the wife again got stuck one of the leg in the pit hole, and the husband said, "Are marna to yahan pe ke maro." So this is what material life is, is, on that context. So you can see, and when the Maharaj Parikshit was listening before Bhagavatam started, what happened in Canto 1, 8, 24, 25. Maharaj Parikshit was thirsty, was extremely fatigued, and was very hungry as well. But when he listened to the Katha from Shukdev Goswami, what happened? In Canto 10, 3, 1, what happened? He said, my hunger, my thirst, which is extremely difficult to bear, cannot hinder me anymore. Why? What has happened between these 10 cantos? He was thirsty in this canto, in Canto 1 and Canto 10. He said, these things cannot hinder me. All he was doing, he was drinking the nectar, was drinking Krishna Katha from pure devotee, Sukdev Goswami. And he was doing two things very, very important, which is he was listening very sincerely. He was listening very seriously. He was taking this subject matter very, very seriously. And that's why it says, that when Maharaj Parikshit was from Canto 1, he was very thirsty, whereas in Canto 10, everything got vanquished. So it also says that Ananta Shesha, Anant means countless. Shesh is the Ananta Shesha, which is Krishna's snake. So he's got thousands and thousands of hoods. And it is said that, if he is glorifying Krishna, the swift personality of Godhead, and the sky is the canvas, and the ocean is the ink, if you start glorification of Krishna, then what will happen? Even they cannot finish even the ink will get finished, and the sky will get, and the canvas will be finished, but the glorification of Krishna never get finished. It's that vast. And even the Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Maharaj said once that he asked one of his disciples to bring the newspaper. They brought the newspaper, and he said, this material newspaper need information, right? We have got so much of information that, in every 1 minute, every second, the newspaper can be published of Krishna Katha. Every second, 12 pages big newspaper can be published on Krishna Katha. That's how vast the pastime, how big the glorification of Krishna is. We have just got Bhagavad Gita, and Chaitanya Charitamrita, BBC, with us. We can deep dive in these scriptures and get as much as information as possible, but we have to be very serious and sincere, which is the most two important characteristic to go advance in Krishna consciousness. On that note, I'll finish the topic here. So what we have discussed is on hearing is that what we can hear is always, we have to always hear Krishna Katha. Again, it should be coming from the bona fide speakers from the four sampradayas. And why should we hear? Because when Krishna comes in our heart, all the material things get cleaned up. How to hear? We have to hear very seriously and very sincerely. And listener never get fatigued. It's because Krishna pastimes are all fresh and transcendental. They are Navyovan. Any questions or any add-ons, please? Go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Wow, beautiful class. You started the main subject matter, this hearing, as Prabhupada mentioned every time. Hearing, because Prabhupada is our example, because he was chosen by his spiritual master because he was very much inclined on hearing, and that is the character of the good listener, and he was picked up by his spiritual master on that basis, and that shows us how important hearing is and listening is. So you so much nicely explained about hearing. It's beautiful, the pinpointed, and is very, very clear about hearing. Hearing is not just like hearing, it should deep into the heart. And that is only possible when you seriously and sincerely listen. With the three aspects, as you mentioned, that is, you should be here, and you should contemplate, and you should put it in practice. That's what Srila Prabhupada said, while we are chanting, we are very, very serious and sincere. When uttering the word Krishna, Ram, and Hari, Hari. So these words should poke into our heart so that it dips and settle over there. But if we just listen and just do the Hare Krishna, 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 it's just sound. It doesn't vibrate the heart. It is a sound just blows outside the ear. It doesn't go inside. So by pronouncing it properly, Hare Krishna, that goes deep into the heart, and then it shakes the heart, and then it responds very nicely, and then how it sticks to heart and start functioning. Then the dust goes off, the material dust goes up and start cleaning.
Very nice.
So this is a very good chapter and starting. You so nicely explained. Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for a comprehensive overview on hearing, and I guess it really helps us to remind ourselves how important hearing is. Just to add on to Tusha Chaitanya Prabhu's point about Srila Prabhupada, I think there was this story where devotees of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were doing the Vraja Mandala Parikram, and they were going to all the holy places of Vraj. And one night there was an announcement saying that the buses will leave to go to a particular temple, so the devotees could get the darshan of the deities. And for those who wanted to stay back, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati will be giving a lecture in the tent. So actually mostly everyone went to the temple in the buses, except for Srila Prabhupada and a few people who stayed back for the lecture. I mean, Prabhupada was thinking that it was most important and beneficial to hear from his spiritual master, and that was his mood. And so the thing is, we can't see Krishna, at all with our senses. But if we hear about Krishna, his name, his fame, then Krishna is present before us.
Exactly.
And you emphasized nicely that how one should actually hear. We need to imbibe such qualities in order to hear, so that we do get, we can progress in our spiritual life. So thank you, Prabhu. It was a good class. Thank you.
Thank you, Mataji, for sharing.
Any other devotees with comments, realizations they wish to share?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Pranam. Thank you very much for a very beautiful class. Such a good overview of the topic of sharing. It's a very vast topic. The hearings and also the service, they go together. Because if somebody does very sincere service, then also his quality of hearing also improves, so that they complement each other. Because in the Bhagavad Gita, we hear inquiry is followed by service. So sometimes topic might be very difficult, but if somebody has very sincere service, any type of sweeping, mopping, deity worship, as important with the power, then what I seen is that the mood of hearing improves and the subject matter of the hearing really goes in the heart. So there was an example of Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj. One very great person came to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj to inquire about some very intricate subject matter. And Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj said, okay, I can answer your question, but first if you can just go and help my servants who are planning the deity paraphernalia, then you can come back and ask your questions. So this person was humble enough. He went to the devotees and helped out cleaning the paraphernalia. So while he was cleaning, all the inquiries, all the question he had in his heart got cleared up. So when he came back to Bhaktisiddhanta Maharaj, he said, so Maharaj asked him, so what were your questions, what were your inquiries? He said, a very amazing thing happened. While I was clearing all the paraphernalia, all the doubts, all the questions I had got cleared up immediately. So then Prabhupada mentioned that service in the right mood is very important. So once we do a very nice service in a very good mood, some of these intricate matters just get cleared up in the heart. So service and hearing, devotional service, they go together. They complement each other. Thank you.
Very nice, yes.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice to share.
If there are no further questions or comments, then we can bring the class to a close. Thank you so much for your time, Prabhu. Hope to hear from you soon. Vancha kalpatrupyasya.
Chitra sindhavya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Annakooti Vaishnavanta ki jai.
Prabhupada ki jai. Thank you.
Jai. Chitra